Hi everyone. So here's my current yard project. As you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. There's a mix of weeds, cool season grasses, and the leftover annual ryegrass from last year. Basically, the yard needs a complete overhaul. You'll see me coming into frame here in a second with a scarifier. I'll explain what I'm doing while you watch me work. I'm using a Sun Joe scarifier with the blade setting to not only pick up as much thatch as possible, but also to till up the top layer of the soil. I plan on planting seeds, so I want to make sure the seeds are in the soil and not just sitting on top. You'll also see me battling with the cord for a minute. Just as an aside, I think there's a battery version of this now, and that would have been nice to use. Anyway, so what am I doing? First, I just want to preface that I'm just an average homeowner and I just got super into lawn videos, maybe not unlike yourself, and I've been researching how I could redo my lawn. I'm not a professional, I'm just an average guy doing his best. All the lawns in my neighborhood appear to be cool season grasses, and even when the neighbors keep up with watering in the summer, the lawns all tend to go brown for at least 2 months. The summers in my area are dry and hot. Generally, we have a daytime temperature over 90 degrees, over 100 isn't rare, and for at least a couple weeks we approach 110. It's very dry, and as you can see, my grass doesn't do very well. This got me thinking, if most of the year is so hot, why not try to plant a warm season grass like Bermuda? So last year I tried it and failed, but I learned a few things. My mistakes might help someone out there, so here are a few things that I learned. First, I attempted planting in August last year, which was probably one of the bigger mistakes. From my YouTube research, I found a hybrid Bermuda seed that I wanted to try. It suggests daytime temperatures over 80 degrees, which it definitely was, but I really wasn't giving everything enough time to germinate and establish before winter. I did have some germination, but it was poor and it all eventually died off when it got cold. Next, when planting, I did use the scarifier like I am here, but I was so exhausted after and in a rush that I spread the seed and called it a day. This was the biggest mistake. The seed was visible on top of the soil and more than likely had very poor soil contact for germination. I watered it plenty and there was some germination, but if I had to guess, it was close to 10 to 20%. You'll see me finishing up with the scarifier on the lawn now. It pulled up quite a bit of dead grass, and you might see people on YouTube saying you have to rake all of this up. I found it much easier to just run my lawnmower over it with a bag, and it acts as a bit of a vacuum and got rid of about 90% of it, just remowing my lawn. So that's what you'll see next. I'll be using the mower to suck up all of that dead grass off of the top of the lawn. After that, I'll spread the seed, add fertilizer, add a thin layer of topsoil, and then I do it again. I add seed, add another thin layer of topsoil, and then I finish it off by packing it all down with a lawn roller filled with some water. So you can see here what that process did. scarifying first, and then picking up all of the dead thatch after with the lawnmower. So you can see the lines from the blades in the scarifier here, and you can see that it dug into the earth a little bit, which should be helpful for getting the seeds under the surface of the soil. So here's a bag of the seed that I chose. It's a hybrid Bermuda full house, which is a Monaco and a Hollywood Bermuda grass. A couple things to note here. On the planting guidelines, it says to plant after danger of frost has passed in spring, when soil temperatures are between 65 and 70 degrees or higher. We're in the 80-degree range here, so that's not going to be a problem. The second is to rake the area that will be planted and remove any debris. So we did remove the debris. As far as raking the area, we're going to be putting a topsoil over top and then packing it all in. Seeding at a rate of 2 to 3 pounds per 1,000 feet. I actually doubled this because I wanted to make sure I got as much as I needed. So I think when I put this down, I put down about 50% more in the front and backyard. And then spread the seed on the surface or lightly rake into the seed. Again, we're going to want to pack in some soil on top and make sure that it has a layer of soil touching it at all times. And then keep moist, so that's just the watering, and that's probably the most important part once we get to that step. Next, I'm just going to be pouring a little bit of the seed into a hand spreader. Initially, I had the hand spreader set to the lowest setting because the seed is so small. So you can see here how tiny these seeds are. So I didn't want to set the spreader up too high and then send out too much of the seed. But on my first pass, it really didn't set out much of the seed. So I did end up changing this to 2, and 2 seemed to work really well. And then I was able to walk around a few times and fill this back up. Some good coverage on the rest of the yard. Next, I put down a light amount of fertilizer. For this, I was using PGF Complete. It's a 16-4-8 fertilizer. And again, I just used a small amount of this. So the next step in the process, and something that I think is going to be very important to my success rate this year, is I used a topsoil to put over the seed that I had planted. And to do that, and to get an even spread of this, I used this peat moss spreader that I found at Home Depot that costs $9 at the local Home Depot I have. So basically, you can fill the drum with soil, and then it's supposed to, as you roll it, put down a thin layer of the soil onto the grass. So it's the first time I've ever used it, and it actually went pretty well. So you can see in the video here, this is just my filling it up. There was just 2 latches on the top. I was able to fill, I probably could have gotten a little bit more than 2 bags, but 2 bags fit in there nicely. And then from there, I was able to roll out a thin layer of topsoil very evenly over the grass that I had laid down. And here you'll see I laid down another layer of seed just to make sure that I had enough seed down and it was kind of layered in between some of the topsoil that I was putting down. And then I put my last 2 bags of topsoil into the roller and just did one last pass. Something else I thought was pretty cool was the grates on this kept most of the little mulch pieces that come in the soil out of the grass. So I was able to lay down mostly just soil and keep all of the mulch pieces out. Now, some of the mulch did get on the lawn, but quite a bit of it was left off. So I was pretty happy with the result. And then the last step, I used this lawn roller to pack everything in that I just did. So I filled this with a little bit of water and then basically did the same thing I was doing with the lawn spreader for the soil that I put on top. And I just went over the whole yard again and just made sure that everything was packed in. And that's it. So hopefully it'll work. I'm not sure yet. I will do a video update one way or another just in case anybody can get some help from it. But this is what the front yard looks like after all the work that I did today. And then also I did all the same work to the backyard as well. And you can see where it's a little bit heavier there. There were some bare spots. So I'm hoping that the topsoil will help in those areas quite a bit too. Thanks for watching.